Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's Monday Night Football game and College Bowl game. And we'll look ahead to the two College Football Bowl games for today. College Basketball, look back on last night, look ahead to today's games. Tonight's the start of the NBA season. We'll preview and predict the TNT doubleheader. I'm going to do my power forwards and center rankings for the NBA season and my best bet of the day. We'll start in the NFL, Monday Night Football, where we had a monstrous upset. The Cincinnati Bengals take down the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 27-17, an absolute stunner. Bengals go to 3-10-1. Pittsburgh drops to 11-3. Ryan Finley 7-13, 89 yards and a touchdown. He didn't have to do all that much. And Ben Roethlisberger, 20-38, 170 yards, a touchdown, the pick. I'm starting to wonder whether he's healthy or not, or he could potentially be washed up. I mean, it could be both. For what we know, it's kind of reminding me a little bit of Eli Manning in 2016, where you have the good team around you and you could very well be holding them back in a way. And then Peyton Manning with the Broncos in 2015, I think, is a better comparison because I think Ben's been a little bit better than Eli Manning was in 2016 and better than Peyton Manning was in 2015 with Denver. But yeah, the Denver comparison, I think, is the better comparison because Denver, although them and the Giants in 15-16 respectively both made the postseason, the Giants were one and done, and Denver went all the way to win the Super Bowl. And that was a very unexpected Super Bowl. And Peyton was benched for a couple weeks for the guy that the Texans traded for, Brock Osweiler. And then, so yeah, that's what kind of reminds me of a little bit. And then Ben already came out and said he wants to play next year. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he's hurt or not. But yeah, that was an alarming performance from Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion. And good for the Bengals. You know that the New York Jets are probably doing jumping jacks right now that the Bengals got that win. Not that the Bengals would take a quarterback because they have their guy in Joe Burrow, but it drops them down the pecking order in the draft, obviously. Now we'll go over the bowl game from yesterday as bowl season began. Appalachian State defeats North Texas 56-28 in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So Appalachian State covers by a touchdown. App State finishes the season at 9-3. North Texas finishes at 4-6. App State is normally the perennial contender in the Sun Belt, but there were two other teams that just had better years than them, in Louisiana and Coastal Carolina. But good way for App State to finish their season. And then North Texas was just a disappointment this year, quite frankly. So Appalachian State gets the win here in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, so they get the first bowl season victory. All right. 2 games today. You have Tulane against Nevada in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. My projections for this game are Nevada by 8 and a total of 59. Meanwhile, my numbers are going to be off a lot with bowl games because there's going to be some games where players are sitting and all that jazz. So Tulane's actually favored by 2.5, and the total is 57.5. I'm taking Nevada plus the points, and then Nevada straight up at plus 114. Nevada, I just think, has been better than Tulane this year. Nevada got off to that good start, fell off a little bit. Tulane, meanwhile, has been the team that finds ways to lose close games. You've seen that all season long. So give me Nevada plus 2.5 and plus 114 on the money line. And then in the Boca Raton Bowl, UCF against number 16 BYU. My projections, BYU by a half, total 65. Meanwhile, BYU is favored by 6.5, total of 75.5. This is a tough one for me. I'm going to take the under because I have a bigger edge on the under than I do on either side. BYU's defense is actually pretty good. Although UCF is just terrible defensively and awesome offensively. I could see a world where this game is 40-30 BYU and I still win the bet. 40-35 would work. So I love it. Give me under 75.5 and UCF BYU in the Boca Raton Bowl for today. And by the way, the game times are 3:30 for Tulane, Nevada in the Potato Bowl, and then 7 o'clock is the Boca Raton. So doubleheader today, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. Now I'm going to move on to college basketball results from yesterday and look at today's very busy slate, as a lot of these schools are on winter break, so that's why there's so many college basketball games on. So results from last night and yesterday during the day. Clemson over Morehead State, 66-51. George Mason over BMI, 68-66. UNC Wilmington over Campbell, 78-59. Texas A&M over Wofford, 70-52. Southern Utah over Bethesda, 96-57. Lipscomb over Crowley's Ridge, 97-60. Kansas State over Jacksonville, 70-46. Rice over New Orleans, 73-62. Texas State over Northern Arizona, 70-65. Bryant over UMass, 93-88. Furman over SC State, 118-56. UMass Lowell over Vermont, 73-65. FAU over Florida College, 107-72. Tennessee, number 8 Tennessee over St. Joe's, 102-66. Number 21 Florida State over Gardner-Webb, 72-59. Morgan State over Delaware, 65-59. FIU over Carver, 111-34. North Florida over Edward Waters, 98-71. Wagner over Sacred Heart, 74-46. Washington State over Prairie View, 90-62. Belmont over Evansville, 72-63. I had to change my best bet because the game I picked got postponed due to COVID, so I took Belmont laying 9.5 instead. Lost by a half point. Sam Houston State over Texas Rio Grande, 69-66. Hampton over Charleston Southern, 67-55. Georgia State over Charleston, 72-55. Southern Illinois over Butler, 76-73. So Butler loses a bye game to Southern Illinois, the epitome of brutality, in the words of the great John Rothstein. Number 2, Baylor over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 99-42. Number 24, Virginia Tech over Longwood, 84-58. Mississippi State over Mississippi Valley State, 87-48. Tulsa over Memphis, 56-49. Missouri State over Little Rock, 85-77. Samford over Belhaven, 133-84. Number 1, Gonzaga over Northwestern State, 95-57. Stanford over Cal State Bakersfield, 63-50. BYU over Texas Southern, 87-71. Austin Peay over Murray State, 74-70. Utah State over San Jose State, 107-62. And Boise State over New Mexico, 77-53. All right, today's games, 12 o'clock, ACC Network, Maine against Boston College. My projection for this game is Boston College by 15.5. Meanwhile, according to FanDuel, Boston College is giving 22.5. I'm taking Maine plus the points. I don't like this Boston College team that much. I don't think Maine's very good either, but I have the edge on Maine, and the number's valuable at minus 106. So give me plus 22.5 at minus 106. Alcorn Liberty. My line for this game is, and oh, by the way, we could skip St. Francis, Illinois, Loyola, Chicago. My line for this game, Alcorn Liberty, is Liberty 27. Meanwhile, it's 25.5. So it's within less than 2 points. I have to go to the total, and I'm going to take the under 134.5. Continuing in the 1 o'clock slate, Southeast Missouri State and Indiana State. My line is 16.5. Meanwhile, Indiana State's favored by 13.5, so I'm going to lay the 13.5 with Indiana State at a valuable minus 106. Next up, you got 2 o'clock, William & Mary, number 16, Virginia, I project Virginia by 40. Meanwhile, Virginia is favored by 22.5. I'm going to lay the 22.5 with Virginia against William and Mary. LSU, Alexandria, North Texas, we could skip. Northern Illinois, Toledo. My projection is Toledo 22.5. Meanwhile, it's 14.5. I'm going to lay the 14.5 with Toledo at a juice minus 115. Charlotte, George Washington. My projection is Charlotte by 7.5. Meanwhile, Charlotte by 1.5. I'm going to lay the 1.5 with Charlotte against George Washington at minus 106. Next up, you got Northern Arizona against Denver. My projection is Denver 5.5. Meanwhile, the line is not up yet on FanDuel or on ESPN, so I'm just going to say that Denver will win. Next up, you have Hofstra and Richmond. My projection is Richmond by 8. They're favored by 13.5. I'm going to take Hofstra plus the points to keep it within the number. Next up, you got Mercer against Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State, I project as a 22-point underdog. Meanwhile, Mercer's favored by 14.5. I'm going to lay to 14.5 at Mercer at minus 106. Ball State, Western Michigan. My projection is Ball State 21, and it's 5.5. I'm going to lay to 5.5 at Ball State against Western Michigan. Next up is Ohio, Akron. My projection is Ohio by 3, and they're favored 2.5. So I have to go with the total 1 for 8.5, and I'm going to take over 1 for 8.5 at minus 106. 3 o'clock, Paul Quinn, A&M, Corpus Christi. We can skip Niagara and Albany. My projection is Niagara by 4.5. Meanwhile, it's Albany by 1.5. I'm going to take Niagara plus the 1.5 and plus 108 straight up. Fairleigh Dickinson, Fairfield. My projection is Dickinson 17.5. There's no line yet, so I'm just going to say that Dickinson will win. Vermont and UMass Lowell. My projection here is Vermont by 16. Meanwhile, Vermont is favored by 8.5. I'm going to lay 8.5 for Vermont at a juice minus 114 against UMass Lowell. Montana State against Portland. My projection is Montana State by 9.5. Meanwhile, it's 3.5. I'm going to lay to 3.5 at Montana State at a juice minus 114. Appalachian State against Auburn. My projection here is Auburn by 8. And Auburn's favored by 14.5. I'm going to take App State plus the 14.5 here. Presbyterian and the Citadel. My projection is the Citadel by 17. Meanwhile, the Citadel, I don't have a lineup here for that game, and ESPN has the Citadel by 4. I'm going to lay the points with the Citadel here against Presbyterian. Chattanooga and Tennessee State. My projection is Chattanooga by 1. Meanwhile, Chattanooga's favored by 4.5. I'm going to take Tennessee State plus the 4.5 at minus 114. 3:30, Tulane and East Carolina. My projection is East Carolina by 3.5. Meanwhile, East Carolina is giving 5.5, so I'm taking Tulane plus the 5.5 at a very juiced 1 minus 118. 4 o'clock, Colorado State and Santa Clara. My projection is Santa Clara by 1. And there's no line for this yet. I'm just going to say Santa Clara will win. James Madison and VCU. My projection is VCU by a whopping 18.5. And they're favored by 20.5. So I'm going to take James Madison plus the 20.5 at a juiced minus 118. Cincinnati UCF. My projection is Cincinnati 10.5. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's favored by 2.5. I'm going to lay to 2.5 at Cincinnati against UCF. Sacred Heart and Wagner, no line yet. My projection is Wagner by 11. I'm going to say that Wagner will win. Idaho State and Northern Colorado. My projection is Northern Colorado by 22. They're favored by 10.5. I'm going to lay the 10.5 in Northern Colorado and a valuable minus 105. 5 o'clock, Seattle, Cal. My projection is Cal 13. Meanwhile, Cal's favored by 12.5. I have to go to the total 129.5. I'm going to take the under 129.5, but I don't feel good about it. Abilene Christian in Arkansas. My projection is Arkansas by 5.5. Meanwhile, they're favored by 13.5. I'm going to take Abilene Christian plus the 13.5 at a slightly juiced minus 112. Tennessee Martin, Ole Miss. My projection is Ole Miss by 20.5. Meanwhile, Ole Miss is favored by 26.5. So I'm going to take Tennessee Martin plus the 26.5 at a valuable minus 106. UNC Greensboro and NC&T at 6 o'clock. My projection for this game is Greensboro by 18. Meanwhile, Greensboro, for whatever reason, I don't have a line for this game yet on FanDuel, but ESPN has Greensboro 12. So I'm going to lay it with Greensboro. UNC Asheville against Marshall. My projection is Marshall by 6. Meanwhile, Marshall say right 13.5. I'm going to take Asheville plus the 13.5 at minus 115. Hampton and Charleston Southern. My projection is Charleston Southern by 15.5. They're favored by 5.5. I'm going to lay the 5.5 at a valuable minus 106. Nebraska and Wisconsin. My projection is Wisconsin by 28. Meanwhile, Nebraska, that's a 7 o'clock game on Fox Sports 1. And Nebraska is a 16.5 point underdog, so I have an edge on Wisconsin, a pretty big edge. So I'm going to lay the 16.5 with Wisconsin at minus 112. Bradley and Missouri. My projection, get it, guys? Bradley by a half. Yes, I have Bradley projected as a favorite here. Well, Missouri's laying 10.5. I'm going to take Bradley plus the 10.5 at minus 104 and plus 560 straight up. Texas Tech, Oklahoma. My projection for this game, by the way, number 15, Texas Tech, and by the way, Missouri is ranked 14 and Wisconsin's ranked 9th. So Tech against Oklahoma on ESPN2. My projection is Tech by 6. I have to change this because I had minus 6, but it's plus 6 for me. Meanwhile, Texas Tech's favorite 2.5. I'm going to lay the 2.5 with Texas Tech against Oklahoma at minus 105. Next up on ACC Network, number 17, North Carolina against NC State. My projection here is Carolina by 8. Carolina's laying 1.5. I'm going to lay the 1.5 with Carolina at minus 105. North Dakota, Drake. My projection's Drake 18. Meanwhile, Drake is laying 14.5. So, I'm actually not that far off. So give me Drake minus the 14.5 at a juice minus 115. Wichita State against South Florida. My projection for this game is Wichita by 5. Meanwhile, South Florida's giving 2.5. I'm going to take Wichita State plus the 2.5 at minus 118 and plus 116 to win the game straight up. Montana and Arizona on the Pac-12 network. My projection is Arizona by 18.5. Meanwhile, Arizona is favored by 13.5. So I'm going to lay the 13.5 with Arizona at minus 105. Howard Payne in Texas Arlington, we could skip. High Point in Eastern Kentucky. My projection on this game is Eastern Kentucky by a whopping 24.5. Meanwhile, they're favored by 6.5. I'm going to lay the 6.5 with Eastern Kentucky at minus 112. Louisville Pitt. My projection here is Louisville by 19.5. Meanwhile, Louisville's only giving 3.5. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with Louisville at minus 104. LaSalle and Maryland on the Big Ten Network. My projection for this game is Maryland by 10.5. Meanwhile, Maryland's laying 15.5. I'm going to take LaSalle plus a 15.5 at a juiced minus 115. Georgia Southern Florida Gulf Coast. My projection is Gulf Coast by 4. Meanwhile, Gulf Coast is a 1.5 point underdog. So give me Gulf Coast plus the 1.5 at minus 115 and plus 100 straight up. Tennessee Tech and Western Kentucky on ESPNU. My projection for this game is Western Kentucky by 18. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky is favored by 21.5. So give me Tennessee Tech plus the 21.5 to stay within the number. Lamar and UTSA. My projection for this game is UTSA by 12.5. Meanwhile, UTSA is giving 7.5, so give me UTSA minus 7.5. Virginia Wesley, Old Dominion, we could skip. Northeastern against Georgia. I actually have Northeastern projected as a half-point favorite here, amazingly enough. Meanwhile, Georgia is favored by 9.5, so give me Northwestern plus a 9.5 and minus 108 and plus 420 to win the game straight up. I won't be shocked if Georgia has a letdown in this spot. Granted, they're one of the more improved teams this season. Next up is East Tennessee State at Alabama at 7:30. Notre Dame Syracuse postponed, by the way. My projection for this game is Alabama by 11. Meanwhile, Alabama is giving 14.5. So give me East Tennessee State at plus 14.5 at minus 105. Louisiana Tech Monroe, or UL Monroe. My projection is La Tech by 24. Meanwhile, they're giving 11.5. So give me La Tech minus 11.5 and minus 104 against UL Monroe. Temple at number 6 Houston. My projection is Houston by 26. Meanwhile, Houston's giving 16.5. So give me Houston minus 16.5 at a juice minus 114. 9 o'clock Northwestern State at number 1 Gonzaga. My projection is Gonzaga by a whopping 36.5. And I don't see a line for this yet. 9 o'clock ESPN 2. Number 7 West Virginia and number 3 Kansas. The game of the night so far. My projection is Kansas by 2. Meanwhile, Kansas is laying 1.5. So I'm a half point off on this game. Total 140.5. I'm going to go over here. I think that this game is going to be played into the mid-70s and potentially the 80s. I think that both these teams are good offensively. And their defenses are good, but I think their offenses will overtake them. I think the total is pretty low. So give me over 140.5 at a slightly valuable minus 108 in what is the game of the night in college basketball. Big Ten Network number for Iowa hosting Purdue. My line is Iowa 12.5. Meanwhile, Iowa's giving 6.5. So give me Iowa minus 6.5 against Purdue at minus 112. St. Catherine, San Diego, we could skip. Portland State, Oregon State. My line is Oregon State by 22.5. Meanwhile, Oregon State is laying 13.5. I'm going to lay to 13.5 with Oregon State at minus 114. St. Mary's, San Diego State on CBS Sports Network. My projection is St. Mary's by 2. Meanwhile, San Diego State's laying 2.5. I'm taking St. Mary's plus a 2.5 and minus 106 and plus 128 to win the game straight up. ESPNU, North Dakota State, and TCU. My projection is TCU by 12. Meanwhile, TCU is laying 11.5. Go to the total 128.5, and I'm going to take the under at minus 108, but I don't feel so strong about that. UNLV, Wyoming postponed. Utah State, Arizona State postponed. And 11 o'clock Pac-12 Network, Colorado hosting Grand Canyon. They're at Grand Canyon. My projection is Colorado by 4. Meanwhile, Colorado's giving 11.5. Give me Grand Canyon plus 11.5 at minus 105 as my last college basketball play of the night or of the day. Now we'll do NBA. The return of the NBA begins tonight. It's a doubleheader on TNT, and the first game is the return of Kevin Durant as the Brooklyn Nets host Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors. My projection for this game is Brooklyn by 6.5 for the total of 223. If Draymond Green was playing, then it would be 4.5, but it's 6.5 with the absence of Draymond Green. And Brooklyn's favored by 7.5, and the total is 230. So I'm going to take the under 230. I think there's going to be some jitters on both sides. My total projection is 223, so I have a 7-point edge on the under. So I'm going to take the under 230 in this game. I'm going to say that Durant plays well. Curry plays well. I think that Draymond will be missed from a defensive standpoint, but I still think 230 is pretty high for the opening night game of the season. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of jitters, and I think there's going to be a lot of missed baskets. And then 10 o'clock, you got the Clippers at the Lakers. It's the ring ceremony. My projection for this game is Lakers by 2.5, total 223.5. Meanwhile, Lakers are favored by 3.5, and the total is 219.5. I'm going to take the over. This one, I'm actually going to go with the over. I have an edge on the over, a 4-point edge. I think that LeBron and company are going to come out and play with a chip on their shoulder. I think Montrezl Harrell is going to have a revenge game against his former team. I think Kawhi will have a big game. I understand why the total's low because of their reputations of defensive teams, but I think that the over will hit here, and I think it'll hit as it's going to be within crunch time. So give me over 219.5. So I have 1-point edge on the Warriors and a 1-point edge on the Clippers. But too close, so I'm going to do the totals instead, and I'm going to take the under 230 in Golden State Brooklyn because I have a 7-point edge on the under, and over 219.5 in Clippers Lakers because I have a 4-point edge on the over. So it's going to be a lot of fun tonight in the NBA, and I'm looking forward to it. Now I'm going to do my power forward rankings as tonight starts the season, amazingly enough. So without further ado, here we go. All right. Number 81, Anthony Gill, Wizards. 80, Mamadi Diakite, Bucks. 79, Jarrell Brantley, Jazz. 78, Greg Whittington, Nuggets. 77, Chimezie Metu, Kings. 76, Daniel Oturu, Clippers. 75, Isaiah Roby, Thunder. 74, Paul Reed, 76ers. 73, Dean Wade, Cavaliers. 72, Reggie Perry, Nets. 71, Nicolo Miele, Pelicans. 70, Bruno Caboclo, Rockets. 69, Jared Vanderbilt, Timberwolves. 68, Jalen McDaniels, Hornets. 67, Chuma Okeke, Magic. 66, Alfonso McKinney, Lakers. 65, Mfiondu Kabengele, Clippers. 64, Doug McDermott, Pacers. 63, Jeff Green, Nets. 62, Jared Dudley, Lakers. 61, Gary Clark, Magic. 60, Xavier Tillman, Grizzlies. 59, Jaden McDaniels, Timberwolves. 58, Precious Achiuwa, Heat. 57, Jalen Smith, Suns. 56, Grant Williams, Celtics. 55, Rodions Carusis, Nets. 54, Patrick Patterson, Clippers. 53, DJ Wilson, Bucks. 52, Larry Nance, Cavaliers. 51, Juan Hernan Gomez, Timberwolves. 50, Nasir Little, Blazers. 49, Trey Lyles, Spurs. 48, Georges Niang, Jazz. 47, Thaddeus Young, Bulls. 46, Mo Harkless, Heat. 45, Al Farouk Aminu, Magic. 44, James Johnson, Mavericks. 43, Rudy Gay, Spurs. 42, Mike Muscala, Thunder. 41, Paul Millsap, Nuggets. 40, Maxi Kluber, Mavericks. 39, Myers Leonard, Heat. 38, Darius Baisley, Thunder. 37, Royce O'Neal, Jazz. 36, Mike Scott, 76ers. 35, Nemanja Bjelica, Kings. 34, Zach Collins, Blazers. 33, PJ Tucker, Rockets. 32, Carmelo Anthony, Blazers. 31, JaMychal Green, Nuggets. 30, Sekou Doumbouya, Pistons. 29, Brandon Clark, Grizzlies. 28, Obi Toppin, Knicks. 27, Eric Pascal, Warriors. 26, Dario Saric, Suns. 25, Miles Bridges, Hornets. 24, Lauri Markkanen, Bulls. 23, Blake Griffin, Pistons. 22, LaMarcus Aldridge, Spurs. 21, Julius Randle, Knicks. 20, P.J. Washington, Hornets. 19, Rui Hachimura, Wizards. 18, Kyle Kuzma, Lakers. 17, Kevin Love, Cavaliers. 16, Draymond Green, Warriors. 15, Davies Bertans, Wizards. 14, Danilo Gallinari, Hawks. 13, Marvin Bagley, Kings. 12, Tobias Harris, 76ers. 11, John Collins, Hawks. 10, Aaron Gordon, Magic. 9, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jazz. 8, Jaren Jackson Jr., Grizzlies. 7, Domantas Sabonis, Pacers. 6, Kristaps Porzingis, Mavericks. 5, Pascal Siakam, Raptors. 4, Zion Williamson, Pelicans. 3, Jason Tatum, Celtics. 2, Anthony Davis, Los Angeles Lakers. And number 1, if there wasn't any doubt, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks. So the two-time reigning MVP gets the top spot honors for the Power Forward rankings for the 2020-2021 NBA season. And now to the centers we go. This was an interesting list to put together. There are a couple candidates for that number 1 spot, in my opinion. So you can make a debate for a couple of these spots. All right, number 79, Nick Richards, Hornets. 78, Drew Eubanks, Spurs. 77, Udoka Azubuike, Jazz. 76, Luke Cornett, Bulls. 75, Alexej Pokusevich, Thunder. 74, Thon Maker, Cavaliers. 43, Frank Kaminsky, Suns. 72, Alex Len, Raptors. 71, Tony Bradley, 76ers. 70, Naz Reid, Timberwolves. 69, Nicholas Claxton, Nets. 68, Harry Giles, Blazers. 67, Damian Jones, Suns. 66, Bismack Biyombo, Hornets. 65, JaVale McGee, Cavaliers. 64, Christian Felicio, Bulls. 63, Bruno Fernando, Hawks. 62, Goga Bitadze, Pacers. 61, Chris Boucher, Raptors. 60, Daniel Gafford, Bulls. 49, Marquise Chris, Warriors. 58, Boban Marjanovic, Mavericks. 57, Jahlil Okafor, Pistons. 56, Maurice Wagner, Wizards. 55, Kyle O'Quinn, 76ers. 54, Bobby Portis, Bucks. 53, Zeke Naji, Nuggets. 52, Vernon Carey Jr., Hornets. 51, Isaiah Stewart, Pistons. 50, Robert Williams, Celtics. 49, Robin Lopez, Wizards. 48, Cody Zeller, Hornets. 47, Enes Kanter, Blazers. 46, Dwight Howard, 76ers. 45, DeAndre Jordan, Nets. 44, Willie Cauley-Stein, Mavericks. 43, Nerlens Noel, Knicks. 42, Mo Bamba, Magic. 41, Bol Nuggets. 40, Mason Plumlee, Pistons. 39, Kevin Looney, Warriors. 38, DeMarcus Cousins, Rockets. 37, Jackson Hayes, Pelicans. 36, Ivica Zubac, Clippers. 35, Gorgui Dieng, Grizzlies. 34, Onyeka Okongwu, Hawks. 33, Tristan Thompson, Celtics. 32, Andre Drummond, Cavaliers. 31, Jakob Poeltl, Spurs. 30, Dwight Powell, Mavericks. 29, Aaron Baines, Raptors. 28, Daniel Theis, Celtics. 27, Rashawn Holmes, Kings. 26, James Wiseman, Warriors. 25, Thomas Bryant, Wizards. 24, Kelly Olynyk, Heat. 23, Derek Favors, Jazz. 22, Hassan Whiteside, Kings. 21, Mitchell Robinson, Knicks. 20, Miles Turner, Pacers. 19, Montrezl Harrell, Lakers. 18, Christian Wood, Rockets. 17, Wendell Carter, Bulls. 16, Clint Capella, Hawks. 15, Al Horford, Thunder. 14, Brook Lopez, Bucks. 13, Jonas Valanciunas, Grizzlies. 12, Serge Ibaka, Clippers. 11, Marcus Gasol, Lakers. 10, Jared Allen, Nets. 9, Steven Adams, Pelicans. 8, Nikola Vucevic, Magic. 7, Yusuf Nurkic, Blazers. 6, DeAndre Ayton, Suns. 5, Karl Anthony Towns, Timberwolves. 4, Rudy Gobert, Jazz. 3, Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets. 2, Bam Adebayo, Miami Heat. And number 1, Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers. Continuing to ride the Sixers train here to pick Joel Embiid to be the top center in the NBA in the 2020-2021 season. I really think that Doc Rivers is going to help get Embiid in shape and really will have a big influence on Joel Embiid in a positive manner. And now my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. This is a tough call here. I have a lot of options for today. I'm going to go yet again in college basketball. And the game that stood out to me today was what game was it that I liked? Was it Louisville against Pitt? There was one that I was like, oh, I'm taking that for best bet. I can't find it now. And it was at a good number. It was at minus 110. Wasn't Davidson against... it wasn't UTSA. You know what? I can't find it. What I was going to pick for best bet today. So, you know what? I'm just going to, I guess, go with the Louisville Cardinals in a bounce back spot against Pitt after losing to Wisconsin. Very valuable number at minus 102. So give me Louisville minus 3.5 against Pitt. So that's it for the show today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the college football bowl games and college basketball and looking ahead to tomorrow, and same for the NBA. I'll do my top 100 NBA player rankings on tomorrow's podcast and any other news that comes out in the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.